Everything all right, General?
You have to get out of here. They have the exits blocked.
Ryloth is safe, Jam. This is what you fought for. I will not abandon my squad. They're good men.
After his first couple of appearances in the Bad Batch Season 1, Captain Howzer stole the hearts of fans around the world. If I can add a bit of personal history into this real quick, in my last decade of gaming, be it on Halo or otherwise, my colors of choice have been teal and white. So when I first learned of a new clone trooper in this new Clone Wars sequel series with those colors, I was immediately invested. I felt such vindication for teal being my favorite color. At the time, the new clone was revealed in mid-2021 with the announcement of a Bad Batch 4-pack in the Vintage Collection toy line, but with the name of Captain Ballast. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to pre-order it immediately, but once it finally restocked, it was mine for the taking. Flash forward to his first appearance in the Bad Batch Season 1, Episode 11, Devil's Deal. Aired 2 days before my birthday as well. It was destiny. Now revealed to have the name of Captain Howzer as opposed to Captain Ballast, this dreamboat was aimed to make an impact. From the facial features we see on the clone captain, that being the lines on his face, it can be assumed that Hauser, much like how Omega pointed out with Rex, is a Generation 1 clone. This could also mean he participated in the first Battle of Geonosis as well. Hauser immediately stood out from the other clones under the Empire. Outside of Crosshair and the Elite Squad, every clone in the Imperial Army had the standard issue white armor. Along with the teal coloring, Hauser's armor has seen better days. The colors are scratched, scraped, and otherwise damaged. To signify his captain's rank, he also wore a pauldron with teal. Oddly enough, we hardly ever see a clone trooper with a pauldron on the right shoulder prior to this, the only other time being a few 327 Star Corps troopers under Aayla Secura. For characters like Captain Rex, Captain Keeley, Commander Jet, Lieutenant Thayer, among others, they were always worn on the left shoulder. Once Imperial stormtroopers become the main force of the army, we would also see the pauldron on the right side. So I'm curious if Hauser always had the pauldron on the right side, or if it's because of the change to the Empire, yet he was able to keep his personalized armor. I just had almost an entire paragraph talking about shoulder pauldrons and armor as a whole. If that doesn't show how much I love this character, then let's proceed. Right away, Hauser shows he is very much not like the average clone you see within the ranks of the Empire.
I'm in a tough spot, Jam. Between us, things are a little tense at the moment. I won't report this, but it can't happen again.
I assure you it won't. Thank you, Hauser.
He shows compassion, thoughtfulness, dedication to the Syndulas and Ryloth as a whole. These are traits not seen in many other clones at this point in time. As the Imperial refinery begins operations and there's uncertainty from the Twi'lek people, Hauser is caught between his duty in Imperial service and the protection of the people. When Hera is found with Gobi Glee transporting contraband arms and Orn-Free Taa has her arrested, Hauser tries to get her out of the situation.
Sir, she's only a child.
But of course, the ego and pretense of Taa and the calculated nature of Vice Admiral Rampart avoid this entirely and continue with the arrest, Hauser reluctantly following orders. Cham and his followers stage a breakout, to which Rampart immediately orders an Imperial surrender. The freedom fighter gives out his own accusation of treason to the Senator, aiming his blaster at him. Hauser tries to de-escalate the situation.
Cham, stop and think about what you're doing.
The general struggles to listen to the words of his captain, but does so when Cham's wife Eleni steps in. When Rampart's plan succeeds and Crosshair severely wounds Taa, framing the Syndulas for the assassination attempt, Hera manages to escape, with Rampart ordering Hauser to find her. Hauser very clearly has no idea what to think of the situation. He knows that Cham did not shoot Taa, and even expresses that to Rampart. But him not knowing who took the shot ends the discussion. If anything, knowing Rampart's track record with covering up his dirty deeds, it's probably a good thing Hauser didn't know who fired on the Senator. As Rampart orders the clones to begin rounding up those loyal to Cham, Hauser raises his concerns for the Order, expressing that it will lead to resistance from the people. But of course, Rampart ignores those concerns. Hauser, understanding the danger Hera is in, tries telling the now imprisoned Syndulas that he will protect their daughter if they tell him where she's hiding, but neither of them are willing to share with their trust in him now broken.
I won't make that mistake again.
When Clone Force 99 is recruited to help Hera free her parents and the diversionary attack on the refinery leads the majority of Imperials away, Hauser is charged with protecting the capital of Lasu. Crosshair stops his squad from leaving as well, realizing that this is just a diversion, Hauser watching on and realizing this as well. As Hunter and Echo free Cham, Eleni, and the rest of the prisoners, Hauser stops and informs them of the trap.
Why should we trust you?
Because I'm on your side.
Hauser apologizes to his general, saying he should have stopped all of this from happening sooner. When Eleni offers Hauser to come with them since the Empire will know he helped in the escape, he instead opts to stay and try to reach through to his brainwashed brothers, claiming that they are good men. As they leave, Hunter stops and looks at Hauser for a moment before carrying on. My takeaway from this brief look was Hunter finally had hope, realizing that if a reg like Hauser could make his own choices again, then maybe their fallen brother Crosshair could as well. As Crosshair and his squad prepare the trap, Hauser reveals himself, confusing all the Imperials there. They were expecting a handful of prisoners and traitors, but what they got instead was something incredible.
Brothers, what are we doing? We came here to free Ryloth from Separatist control, and we succeeded. But look around you. We're now being ordered to target the very people we swore to protect, and I will not be a part of it any longer. Who will stand with me?
This was truly one of the most amazing moments in the show, in my opinion. Hauser stands up to the oppression of the Empire, defying their orders and managing to get several of his brothers to join him, also buying time for his friends and allies to escape so that Ryloth still has a chance for freedom. The way this scene is animated is wonderful. You can tell immediately who the conflicted clones are just by the way they move. The ones whose inhibitor chips are starting to wear off or never fully activated move more expressively, whereas the ones still without control are robotic and hardly moving. I mentioned this in my Return of Commander Cody video, be sure to check that out after this if you haven't, but Hauser, much like every other clone in the Imperial Army, has no idea about the inhibitor chips. Hauser just knows there's something wrong and tries to reason with his squad, telling them that what they're doing is unethical. I'll touch on Hauser's inhibitor chip in a moment. Like many others, I feared that Crosshair would execute Hauser on the spot, but thankfully instead he has him arrested. I'm sure that Crosshair didn't pull the trigger because, at the end of the day, Hauser is still a brother. When ESO-1 expressed the same defiance of orders, Crosshair did not hesitate in terminating him, but he was just a human recruit. Anyway, Hauser is arrested and taken away with the rest of those who laid down their arms, never to be seen again. Until the 14th episode of Season 2, Tipping Point. On Balmorra, many months, possibly over a year after the Ryloth incident, Hauser and 2 other clones are being transported to a Gozanti-class cruiser. When watching this episode for the first time, I lost my mind when I saw that glorious haircut and facial scars. I knew right then and there that my number one, my teal armor boy, was back. The Gozanti prepares to jump to hyperspace, but is intercepted by the rogue clone network, including Echo and Gregor. Echo Squad breaches into the Gozanti and rescues Hauser and the others, along with gathering some intel about where they were being taken to. Hauser is brought back to the hideout on Coruscant, telling Echo and Senator Chuchi that he was arrested on charges of sedition. He also says that the majority of clones he was sent there with were later transported to an unknown location and never returned. Of course, we the audience know this location is Mount Tantus, and I'm very grateful for Hauser's rescue. If not, there's no telling what dreadful experiments or tests would be done to this icon. Echo leaves, taking the intel he managed to gather to be decrypted, leaving Hauser with the rest of the clone network. Of course, as of this video, Season 3 is still in production, so the fate of Hauser is unknown. But knowing that in around 13 years, some of the only clones left of that network are Rex, Wolf, and Gregor, I'm certainly weary of Ryloth's favorite clone's son and his fate. Now I'd like to go back to Hauser's inhibitor chip. As I mentioned, when we meet and get to know him, we see he's a very kind clone. With him being stationed on Ryloth, working with Cham Syndulla and the Freedom Fighters to finally rid Ryloth of the Separatists, there isn't any information on Hauser being with a Jedi. I wonder if Hauser's experiences with Cham made the restrictive effects of the chip wear off much quicker, or perhaps made it never activate in the first place? The same can be said for the clones in Hauser's squad that also showed signs of the chip wearing off. I also wonder what the execution of Order 66 would have looked like on Ryloth, with the impression that no Jedi were present. Would the clones just be patrolling around like droids as we see on Kamino? I don't think they would have acted like Cody and the 212th did, arresting the Pau'an warriors after the Battle of Utapau. Or else there would have definitely been resistance from the Twi'lek freedom fighters, right? Also, this could purely be coincidence, but hear me out. Hunter has an extended look at Hauser, possibly giving him hope about Crosshair. Then in Season 2, we see Hunter wear teal colors on his shoulder armor pieces. Maybe Hunter is paying homage? Or it's just a coincidental color choice. You decide. My Hauser bias leans me toward the first option. And with that, this has been my discussion of Captain Howzer. Going into Bad Batch knowing there was a teal and white clone captain being added to the mythos was exciting for me, as I mentioned earlier. But now knowing the stunning character Hauser becomes over the course of just 2 episodes is beyond anything I could have expected. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts about Captain Howzer are. Did you expect him to appear again in Season 2? Honestly, when I saw Captain Wilco for the first time prior to him being named, I was so sure that was actually Hauser, but had his chip amplified just like Crosshair back in Season 1. But it turns out he was just another heartthrob clone captain who suffered a tragic fate. I know I've been doing lots of Bad Batch specific videos. In fact, all of my previous discussions have been about the show. I guess it just goes to show how much this series means to me. But if you have any other Star Wars topics you'd like to see me discuss in detail in the future, be it certain characters, events, episodes, etc., please let me know down below and I'll do my best to talk about it in the future. On top of that, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share, whatever it may be. Thank you all so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always.